We as a country, we as a city need to have our hair on fire as much about the learning loss problem as about COVID, because the stakes are at least as big. The stakes are at least as big. So we have a lot of education people in the room who know this much better than I do, but we know that there are very key developmental milestones that kids need to reach, right? If you cannot read by the end of 3rd grade, your risk of dropping out of high school increases by a factor of 4. If you have not completed your required algebra class by the end of 9th grade, your risk of dropping out of high school goes up by a factor of 5. Okay, we have a whole there were 50 million kids of school age when the pandemic hit, who have almost all been shifted back between a half a year and a year. The most disadvantaged kids affected the most. They are at huge risk for missing these key developmental milestones. The time to act is now. The time to act was yesterday to solve this problem. I think the third reason that it's been hard for schools to respond to the level they need to, given the scale of the challenge, is, when you originally saw the budget numbers for ESSER, the federal assistance to schools on the heels of the pandemic, it was, I think, $190 million is a number that I've internalized. Sounds like a huge amount of money. And then you do the math and you realize it's $190 million spread out over a bunch of years against the backdrop of a school system in America that spends something like $800 billion a year. And so when you divide the annual flow by the annual ESSER dollars by what we're currently spending, it comes out to something like a 6% increase in spending, which at some level is a lot, but at another level, the scale of the problem is gigantic. Okay. Do we have any examples of public school systems doing something at any scale that's really helpful? And I would argue, from the experience that my research center has had in Chicago and now in different places around the country, that the answer is yes. Even these big city public school systems on their own can do amazing things. So we've been partnering with Saga Education and the Chicago Public Schools to study the effects of high dosage tutoring in some of the most economically disadvantaged communities on the south and west sides of Chicago. They're some of the most disadvantaged communities in the entire United States. We can see that the result is something like double or tripling what students learn per year, which is a life-changing trajectory change to student learning. So we can see that even a school system like this can do it. I think the crux of the debate here is going to be whether there is a way to get the amazing things that public schools can sometimes do, to do that at large scale reliably. I think that is basically what the argument is.
All right.
AI is a term for a massively heterogeneous category of things that are enormously different in how they're built and how they're used. And so for me, I think the right category analog for AI would be like pharmaceuticals, right? If you think about if I were to ask you, what do you think of pharmaceuticals? You would say, I don't even understand the question, right? Like, it depends on what drug we're talking about, for what patient, for what use. Am I pro or con pharmaceuticals? Just a stupid question, right? And when I think about the way to go forward here, I was saying to someone backstage, I recently came across a wonderful picture of a pharmacy in the Wild West in Colorado in like the 1890s. And on the shelf, there's a bottle of aspirin sitting next to a bottle of snake oil, right? And I think that is the AI moment that we're in right now. We are in this unregulated snake oil moment for AI, right? There are clearly downsides in the marketplace for AI right now that we need to worry about regulating away. But in the same way that there's aspirin sitting next to snake oil, there's also clearly really helpful upside here as well. So it's a regulation challenge that I see in many ways in the AI world, but there really is upside here.